Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Free Press TV challenge. My name is Nadia Pankiw, and I am here with Denise Duguay. And Denise has undertaken a wonderful challenge over these last couple of weeks, and she's going to share with you all about that. Denise is a lifelong TV fanatic who has been writing about TV shows and TV in general since the mid 1990s for several Canadian newspapers, including the Winnipeg Free Press, where she now works as a copy editor. Uh, Today, Denise is going to tell you all about the challenge. And if you have any questions at all throughout this live stream, there is a live chat box to the right-hand side of your screen. I will be monitoring those comments and questions, and we'll be able to get to those when we can. So with that, over to you, Denise.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you again for joining us to talk about the Free Press TV Challenge. So yes, I have been watching TV, a lot of TV, since I was very young. I have a vague memory of watching the Beatles make their North American debut on the Ed Sullivan Show in February 1964, when I was 4. So it's a lifelong commitment. I have always owned at least one TV. I have always had cable. I glommed onto streaming services as soon as they were available, even watching the whole first season of Mad Men, which was very hard to find at the time, on my smartphone. And my boyfriend thought I was crazy, but I persisted. The amount of money and time I was pouring into TV, even as it becomes better and better, really started to concern me. And so after several years, or probably decades, of grumbling about how expensive my cable bill had become, I finally tried to boil it down to value for money. But the cost-benefit ratio was a little bit startling. Sure, up to 7 hours a day was making good use of my $60 a month for cable TV, plus 75 for streaming apps, Netflix, Disney Plus, and probably everything else you've ever heard of. But that number, 7 hours a day, was the first time in my 66-ish decades of TV watching that I had really tallied up my daily TV, and it left me pretty shocked and curious. Like, what do people do with their time if they're not watching this much TV? They must get so much stuff done. It should be said I don't have kids and I'm not married, so I have a lot more free time than a lot of you, perhaps. Anyway, overhearing my grumbling and my vow to cut the cord and cancel my cable, not for the first time, fellow TV fan and my cubicle mate and Free Press arts editor Jill Wilson kindly offered me the chance to write about the experience. And so on Saturday, October 28th, so a little more than a month ago, I began documenting in the newspaper and online a 4-week challenge to see if I could quit TV cold turkey as a kind of a reset, and then come back to TV, of course, streaming only, with the hope of reducing my TV watching, or at least becoming a more thoughtful TV watcher. And the experience overall was pretty fantastic. I was a little bit nervous, and there were some moments of desperate panic at what to do, and trying to hide my not trying to hide my watching, but trying to distract myself by almost hiding my iPad, which of course did not work because I knew where it was. But anyway, it was a fantastic success. And the successes, I would say, are boiled down into 3 main points. The first one, of course, I saved money. Canceling my cable saves me about $60 a month. And even with adding the channels that I added back on to cover up for, to make up for local channels, mostly global, via Stack TV and City TV, a couple, anyway, by Amazon Prime Video, I'm still saving $40 a month. So that's $40 a month that I'm probably going to spend foolishly, but still, it's mine to spend. Number 2, and probably more important than the first one, is sleeping much, much better and longer every night. I go back to COVID But really, it was COVID anxiety was really only the aggravating factor of a bad habit of streaming TV in bed on my tablet. But once COVID hit and everything seemed to be going crazy and everyone was stuck alone, my for some reason, old seasons of British game shows was the only thing that I wanted to watch, and late into most of the nights. I still highly recommend Would I Lie to You and 9 out of 10 Cats, which really is the name of the show. They're both on BritBox as well as elsewhere. You can probably find clips on YouTube, and that will probably give you a very good idea without having to subscribe to any apps. And by the way, any of the shows that I mentioned, there will be links that Nadia, thank you, Nadia, not links, but lists of shows that I mentioned throughout this are in the comment section. So if you're curious, have a look there. At any rate, so the mindlessness and the humor of these British game shows in the middle of the night felt like a bit of a relief from all of the end of world fears, that newly locked down world, that everyone was suffering in this newly locked down world. However, 3 or 4 nights a week, I started to notice, and it began back in early 2020 and lasted until just like a month ago. I was sleeping as little as 2 hours a night and unable to unplug from the TV. That was, on one hand, needed escape, but neurologically, a blue light waking nightmare. Strangely, though, I never really thought about how directly the insomnia was linked to the screen time in beds, even though there's abundant posts on every social media platform that I have access to talking about screen time, etc. But even so, insomnia was not even on my list of reasons that I was considering this timeout from TV. In week 2, I watched no, in week 2 of 4 of my challenge, I watched no TV at all. And I slept through to morning every single night. The first night of that week that I had trouble falling asleep was when I stayed up at the very legal end of the challenge, midnight on Saturday, to watch the show that I was most missing at the time, which was the penultimate episode of Apple TV Plus's The Morning Show with Jennifer Aniston, John Hamm, and Reese Witherspoon. I was a wreck in the morning because I hardly slept at all that night, but it was worth it. Fortunately, I have since been able to keep the in-bed viewing to a minimum and am sleeping like a baby. And I really can't say enough how glaring the connection has been for me to stop watching TV in bed and sleep, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Point number 3 of the benefits of this challenge is less watching TV and more talking about TV, which I love to do. I have always talked a lot about television, and at least the people that I know are never reluctant to talk about television, what they're watching, what they hope to watch, what they hate, what they can't find. That's a very popular one. Sure, too much TV is bad for you. It's bad for you neurologically. Apparently, it brings on dementia. It ruins your memory. Those are just 2 things I remember from all of the scary reading that I did before starting this challenge. So it's bad for you neurologically, socially, and of course physically, because you're sedentary and that's giving you risk of all kinds of terrible physical things. But too much of anything is bad for you, right? And TV at its best can be like a tool for change. And I'll give you examples of Roots back in the day, and Will and Grace, and the normalizing of gay characters on TV, Albert Elementary, to name just 3 of them. TV can also be a salve during troubled times. I could not get enough of The Good Place, of The Good Place, The Good Wife, The Good Fight, and even a few shows that don't start with good. Also, TV is an increasingly sophisticated and varied art form, and it's just fantastically rewarding to watch some of these shows, whether they're stupid laugh comedies like British talk game shows, or intense documentaries that are giving us a better understanding of new things happening in the world or old things that happened in the past and have not been properly analyzed. During the TV challenge, which I also posted about on social media, I was having even more TV conversations than usual. And some of the comments were very illuminating and interesting, and I will share 4 of them. The first one made me cry. A woman wrote to me after the publication of my original TV challenge story in the Free Press, where I mentioned that my love of TV is a family tradition and how my grandmother had been on a first name basis with several talk show hosts. Linda emailed from Chicago to say, I worked for Jerry Springer for close to 30 years. I'm sure he would have loved your grandma. Thank you, Linda. That really did make me cry. That's lovely. The second comment, when I complained to my good friend Celine, who lives in Montreal, where I lived for 23 years, when I complained to her that my week of no TV left me feeling a bit weepy, that I was missing not so much TV as watching TV with my grandma, with my mom, and with my husband, all of whom are dearly departed, this was her text reply. Just watch the goddamn thing. You deserve company and distraction. I mean, you love TV. It's part of you. It's comforting, which made me laugh out loud. It's trademark, Celine. It's very good to have friends who can call you out on your drama. And while I did follow this challenge very strictly, except for the last few days when I cheated a few extra hours of PBS's Annika while I was laid up with the flu, seriously, you got to have TV when you're sick. Celine's words were a good reminder of the place that TV holds in comfort and company for many, especially people who live alone, as I do. Number 3, Connie, another friend who I believe has joined us. Hi, Connie. Another friend on real life and virtual real life and on social media. She also set herself a TV challenge and described it this way. While I didn't go cold turkey like you, I did notice that I watched less TV because I would pause and think about it first. Yay. I definitely did read more instead, and from actual books. Also, yay, not stuff online. I am a reality TV addict and watch all the worst of the worst, but I did manage to stop watching The Family Chantal because it was just too much even for me. In my life, I quit drinking, smoking, and drugs. So I try to go easy on myself with TV. But I am glad that your article got me thinking and paying more attention. Now I need to go catch up with the folks on Below Decks. I will add that in an earlier message, Connie also gave me the best rationale for watching reality TV. My daughter and I bond over these shows. I think it's the feeling of superiority they give me. I might be a mess, but I'm not as messed up as the housewives of Salt Lake City, which I love. But it's still not going to get me to watch TV, reality TV. And I want to say, I really thank Connie for being so honest about TV in the frame of addiction, which is something that I come from a family, 2 generations of addicts, most of whom were able to also get their addictions under control. But I tend to get a little sensitive about when I'm spending too much time doing any one particular thing. And I really cut back on my own drinking after COVID, which got to be a little bit too much of a regular crutch. And that's, I think, what led me to think about TV and how much I turned to TV instead of getting out of the apartment and going actually being with people or doing stuff. So thanks, Connie. And I think that's an important factor. No judgment, but just, make sure that what you're choosing is something that you're choosing. And if you need to get help in some other way, get help. So that when you do watch the TV, have the occasional drink in my case, you're doing it because it's a choice. And at any rate, on to response number 4, which comes from B, a Facebook friend, in response to my call out on social media for new TV recommendations. In addition to providing me with a welcome reminder to catch the newly returned series Fargo on FX and City TV Plus, which I highly recommend, it's so good, B offered this. It's like stuffing your face after a diet. You have more to watch than ever. I suggest your TV fast, maybe a fail, which made me laugh. And B was quick to reply and say that he said it in jest and not as a harsh criticism, but it's a fear that I have, and it's an ongoing worry. And will I backslide? Will I end up just as much of a TV zombie as I was before? Not that there's any shame in that, and who knows? But so far, so good. One thing's for sure, I am getting a lot more pleasure now out of the TV that I am watching. as Connie was also saying. Despite fears to the contrary, I do not miss either cable TV, which I thought I would, nor the large screen TV that used to be the focal point of the living room and which has been replaced by a vase of pussy willows and better access to my turntable, which I'm actually using now. When it comes to watching, which is now streaming on my iPad and on a portable, smaller screen TV with Amazon Fire Stick, less is more. I'm not turning to TV to unwind, or not as much as I was, for the most part. Books and audiobooks and podcasts are doing more of that heavy lifting for me these days. I'd like to say I'm walking more and exercising more, but I can say that I'm thinking more about going to the gym, and I've started counting steps and baby steps, haha. What this experiment has confirmed for me is that talking and writing about TV is still one of my favorite things. And I want to, one of my favorite things. And if you want to chat, my digital door is always open. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. You can email me at the Free Press. And this is also a great time to share that starting on Saturday, December 2nd, the Free Press newspaper will begin carrying my suggestions for new TV to watch out for. And until then, in the comments below, you'll see a list of the TV shows, as Nadia already mentioned in this, that I've mentioned in this session, as well as a couple of lists of recommendations from TV friends. I asked people to give me their top recommendations for a desert island TV, what you would bring if you were stranded on a desert island with a media player, I guess, and top current recommendations. So that's about it from me.
Yeah, Denise, I was really so throughout this whole challenge, I've been really interested in thinking about I don't know, my experience was like cutting TV out cold turkey. When I was growing up, grew up with TVs around me. When I was younger, was fortunate enough to have a little tiny TV in my own bedroom. And when I moved away for university, all I had was my laptop, and there was a common room with a TV in it. But I really didn't watch TV at all. Sometimes I'd watch the odd Netflix show. But when I went to visit with my mom in Montreal, I would sit and enjoy the TV, and it felt so comforting. That really resonated with me of just like having that, I don't know, familiarity, that noise in the background that's playing. And now my boyfriend and I said to him, you know, we need to get cable. I need to have TV. I need news. I need channels. I need the Food Network. and we splurged and we got it. And so I've noticed among my friends, I'm Gen Z, not many people are watching TV. They're really leaning towards streaming, or maybe they have bloggers on YouTube that they're really invested in watching instead, or even people who live stream on TikTok. And I'm just curious, as someone who has covered TV as extensively as you have, what kind of trends, viewing trends, do you see happening in general?
Well, one of the most of the most of my friends are a little bit older, so they have more of a, you know, constant, an unquestioning exposure to it. Everyone has TV, everyone has cable, everyone is always knows what's generally on TV. Watching the Oscars all together, even if we're not together, that sort of thing. With my nieces and nephews, who'd be like in the 25 and under age range, say like 16 to, you know, 25. One of the things that I find really surprising, and it's been consistent over the last like 10 years, is how many old shows they like. Like my niece in Los Angeles, who is she is 16, I think, and she introduced me to, she thought she was introducing me to Friends. I was like, okay, wow, all right, this is so interesting. But then there's also shows that I have no idea how they got to be so popular. Like Cobra Kai did not resonate with me. I know the rest of the world loved it. So I don't know. It's like there's like it's throwback as well as, I don't know.
Well,
A
and I'm
voracious
wondering,
appetite, I guess.
yeah, and I'm wondering too, I feel like there is maybe a bit more of an appetite for things to be curated in some way. Like we're overwhelmed with options when we're on streaming services. So maybe that will bring a generation back to TV to have things nicely packaged, or maybe it just separates them all together to say, oh, I don't think I want to be watching as much anything in general. That's possible. I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. I thought that sounds great. I like that.
Okay. I've also, been really interested in, yeah, like you say, these throwback shows. I watched Friends for the first time when I was in university. That's what everyone was watching. And my boyfriend's favorite show ever, Seinfeld. Love Seinfeld.
Yes.
I had
Oh,
no idea
yes.
really what the hype was all about, and then I started watching it, and there you go. It's a good show to have on in the
Yeah.
background. Um, I'm interested to know if anyone who's watching, email Denise about this, how people's habits would differ versus watching maybe dramas or watching the news or watching sports, cutting back on kind of any, and not just everything, but certain channels, how that would affect them. Your comment that your friend passed along about reality TV, I think is just so genuine and so true, about just finding, I don't know, common ground, finding ways to relate and to bond. My desert island show, Bachelor in Paradise. You can't go
Right.
wrong with that. Yeah. And Connie here has messaged and says, I'm surprised at the appeal of podcasts. They seem like a return to the old radio plays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Podcasts are definitely have taken off, have gotten a lot of traction, and there's so many like genres and subgenres that I never would have thought could have existed. Um, it's just, I mean, all of the different media that's available to us now. So many options, so many different ways to listen, to learn, to entertain. I don't know, it's glorious, and there's always two sides to everything, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Glorious and a little overwhelming,
Overwhelming is the
but
word
it's a
for
pretty
it.
good problem to have. Yeah.
I'd agree. I'd agree. Well, Denise, I don't have any more questions for you.
Okay. All right.
Um, And if anyone does have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to Denise. Her email address is in the description of this video. And of course, you can find all of her articles in the Winnipeg Free Press print edition and on winnipegfreepress.com. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you'll continue watching and continue reading. Take care.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.